Welcome to Project Pack number 11. This is day 7. My name is Rick.
Hi, I'm Maria.
And today I'm going to play with a fragment or two on a phi tile. And I'm going to mark both of the phi lines or those sweet spots on both the length and the width. And I tend to be like, okay,
As precise as you
as
can
precise
be.
as Maria is, and I like really get into it. Like, okay, is this where it goes? But
I like that we're sort of complementary, like sweet and savory,
right?
but you need both in this world, right?
So I'm doing both, and so just like we both have different styles and we both have different approaches. You'll see how different mine is from Maria's. So, as an example, I'm just exploring using one phi tile as a guide to connect those, and just doing a light line. And I like, well, it's another option, so you can use that or not. And I also did a diagonal, and you'll understand why as we go along.
We use a different piece of paper for the diagonal.
I used the phi
marker.
So in that first, there's a square there, which you'll soon see. I just restate that line, and I'm going to do a fragment or sort of a variation of one of the fragments. I'll show you which one we use in the book in just a minute. So always rotating your tile when it's just for, whatever is comfortable. And for this one, it's a mix of curve and straight. So this is a takeoff from one corner, arc around, and then land in this corner. And then after that, we're just going to do aura-ing. And it depends on, in this case, I like to have the line I'm following to the left of my pen because it's easier for me to see it. But this is a little different because it's against the way I would normally move my pen. But this worked for me on this one. I felt it more important to have a clear view of the line I was following. And then I'm going to make a giant ladybug of a crescent moon here. Sort of that.
We haven't seen one that big in a while.
No, this is a very large one. Maybe it's the season here.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to do a big one. And I'm sort of doing it to where that other phi line, I use that as my, if I had to start someplace, let me use that.
So you're taking your graphic one now and adding your boldness to it.
Yeah. So I'm going to use that. And again, you'll see how I rotate the tile so that the point of my pen is going up to the edge that I want most precise. We do that with the pencil and the tortillon. And I really enjoyed going back and forth after I did it a couple times.
Well, that's a bold statement
Right?
there, yeah. So you all probably have figured out that Rick and I don't tangle together. He's up in his office upstairs, and I'm in my office downstairs, and never the twain shall meet involving tangling, because we're so opposite, and our surprises are really delightful once we get them together.
we'll do some pieces together, like for seminars and stuff. But there's a real good lesson in that is the idea that, how different Maria and I are in our approach, and Molly and Martha gives you the idea that, okay, well, you get to find your approach, and it's not the same as any of ours. So I'm going into the reticular and fragment section. Gotta find it here. Okay, there it is. And I actually opened right up to it. That's a great chapter. And the one that I'm using for this one was a variation of that L2, I think it is. So I just made it, I wanted to have some more aura-ing on that. And the next one, we're going to use that, I think it's K7. But we'll come back and confirm that. So I'm taking this idea of the phi, and you'll notice that in that, when you laid out the grid and connected those lines, there were squares as well. There was a really big square, and then there's this smaller square. So I'm using that fragment in these squares that get progressively smaller.
So now he's changed his system so that the curve coming out of his hand is a little more comfortable. Yeah.
So I think that I just decided that was much better. And you can see the comfort of the curve. You're going with the way your hand, the radius, the arc of your hand naturally goes.
So just so you know, we change our minds all the time.
All the time.
All the time. And what is wonderful in one tangle is not so much in another.
And part of it is just exploring something and, trying it. Well, how does this feel? Let me do it a little bit differently and get used to a new way of approaching it. And then you can, evaluate, well, that worked good there and that didn't work good there. And it's part of that exploration and creation process that you find new things that work really well. But I think the theme that goes through all of this is to relax, to breathe, and to rotate your tile in a way that is comfortable for your hand.
Oh, so you went back on the operandi.
Yeah, so I want to go back on this and find the phi of these sections. So I'm going to keep...
I'm sorry, but you had it go up to the diagonal. That's where it met the diagonal. Okay.
So I just went and made one side. So I forget when I drew the diagonal, I drew it in the other direction, but you'll see it doesn't really make much difference. Or, the other one is still there. It doesn't bother me. Because I want these... You'll notice that what's magical about this, and this was what for me was fun, is that as you mark these little progressively smaller places, it follows these descending sizes of squares. And to me, it was just like, oh, that's really cool. Your mileage may vary, but I like I like the exploration of this and seeing where it would go. And it's part of the magic of this proportion, because when you look at the back of the tile, just look at one here, you'll see that it's a series of squares that go around in this arc, and so you can check that out. So I played with that on this using the reticular and fragment. And then, well, I'm just going to keep going. And again, I'm going to subdivide the remaining space. And now I'm just going to guess. It's become, just do all this freehand. each, now just continue with that.
It reminds me of that little kids game where they had those blocks that one fit inside of the other, and they're all you have to figure out how to put it back together.
Right.
That's what that's me as mom.
Right. Nesting, whatever.
Yeah, the nesting boxes.
Yeah. Okay, so there's this, there's those, and let's go and get our other tangle.
Other fragment.
K4, other fragment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do the same thing. We'll set up the big square, and we'll put that fragment in. So I'm restating that line, and you can see how it happens to match up with one of the squares on the other side. And now I'm going to use the phi proportion of that square just because, well, why not? To make the big dark inner square. And then use the graphite to fill it in.
Did you fill in that whole thing? Wow.
So then I wanted to do the edge and not get ink all over the table. So I just picked it up and did that.
You can also put a piece of paper under you.
I know.
I know.
So we'll fill this in, and again, the heads up here is that this will be damp for a little bit longer than normal. So you want to keep the palm of your hand or whatever, your little finger, off of it. So now I'm going to aura that line, if you remember from the fragment piece in the book. And I'm playing with an aura, as I often do, as we often do, that the gap in the aura is similar throughout the tile. Doesn't have to be, but it's just a habit I've gotten into.
Continuity.
Oh, yeah. The growth rings, as it were.
So you can see he's not putting his fingers on that black because you will not want to do that. Although we have methods to get rid of it.
Yes, we can deal with that, and it
No
might
mistakes.
even make it even more wonderful. You'll see I'm starting each of those lines to match up with the other ones and trying to see if I can end up with an even space at the end. Another little game. Okay, so now we're going to continue on. Another neat little tidbit is that rectangle to the left of that line is the same proportion as the
whole
okay,
tile.
Watch what I do here. So I can't draw that line comfortably, so I'm just going to put a piece of paper over that.
So you won't get smudged.
Yeah. You know, I could try to draw the line in a different direction, but it would have a different character. So now I'm just going to eyeball where that, proportion would be, and you'll get to a point where, I can see it, and it'll be close enough. I think that's a lot of what happened in your work when you just knew it. So here we'll just continue adding all those little boxes and smaller fragments. This was actually fun, just figuring out, okay, well, where would it be, and then eyeballing it, and simple Zentangle pleasures here. And then once you get down here, just use the 01. The diagonal, just barely room for one little aura in there. And so we've got all of those, right? It's sort of cool.
Steps.
Now what I want to do is take advantage of those chalk markers. So these are the colors that I have. You may have something totally different.
These are General
pencils.
Chalk pencils.
Yeah. And they work so wonderfully with this paper because the paper has a nice tooth to grab the chalk particles.
So Rick's using an ochre color. It was pretty cool.
And I'm putting it down. I'm not trying to fully cover it. I'm just putting down a little bit, somewhat heavy, but not like solid color, because I'm going to come back with the tortillon and use that to move it into the fibers and into the adjacent colors as well.
So now he's got a red pencil adding to both sides of the ochre on the top.
And then my other color was this green. So I just fill in those areas. And you can see how I'm really not doing it that completely or that heavy. But watch what happens when you come back with the tortillon. Look at that. It just smooths right out. Like frosting or something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So I'm switching back and forth between tortillons, and eventually they'll all be the same color as the standard joke, but you should have enough tortillons to, for a little while, have them dedicated to a particular color. But see how that blends so nice? Love that.
Except, of course, if it's me. And then I use the same one all the time.
Right.
Until it
But
stubs out.
I end up with the same one, yeah. Yeah, so you can see they're going to all blend together. So I'm just going to repeat that process for each one of those little
Squares.
fragments there. And then go back on it with the tortillon. Blend that all together.
It has that art. You feel like a real artist when
Yeah.
you're doing that blending stuff and everything.
Well, where the colors meet, it's like like I was talking to somebody earlier today. It's like the edges are magical.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like dawn and at dawn or dusk, or the edge between a field and a forest. It's a lot of exciting things happen there. So I'm going to use my 3 colors on this other fragment. See how I might mix it. Add some red to that. And start off with the green over here. Again, not totally covering it. Add some of that ochre. This part amazes me because how the tortillon just smooths that all together. I mix it up. Didn't even bother to change my tortillon on that one.
Uh-oh, shame on you. We'll get you to the tortillon police.
Right? So we get that. And again, we will just step and repeat and get all of those done in the same way. I like how those fragments meet from one side to the other. Get the chalk in. Get the tortillon out. Again, pointing the tip of your tortillon to the edges that you want most precise there. Okay. Looks totally different with the color, right?
It's beautiful, yeah.
So I want to put something in the that untangled space. So I need my my pencils to be a little sharper. And in your project pack, you have a sharpener from General's Pencil, General's Pencil, and it is at a slightly different angle. It's a more acute angle or a less acute angle than a regular pencil sharpener, because the pastel or the color of these pencils is more fragile. So it's not such a delicate tip. It's a really, really good for this. So I'm just using different pencils to do some flux in there. And then in here, I'm just going to put some Muka. Muka will just fit
Anywhere.
It grows, and it just adapts to its environment. And it can always, just draw behind. Go out and fill that space.
Oh, you kind of mix and match.
Mixing it up there, and then coming back with the other pencil, and I'm very lightly putting this in. Maria came up with this whole concept of ghost tangles, and you'll see that in some of I think maybe in the T3s on the app, and about tangling with pencil. And
so that it's just a subtle texture.
Yeah. So sort of like what's that weaving that has the pattern in the weave that you can see, even if the warp and weft are all the same color, you can see a pattern.
Oh,
in
I know
it,
what you mean.
right?
Give me a minute.
But it's that idea here.
Moire. Is that what you mean? Moire?
That could be, yeah. There's another one though. Oh, we'll think of it when we're finished.
Yeah.
People will put it in the notes. So once I did this very, background, I just went over it with my finger, and it just puts everything. You can very faintly see that there is a tangle there.
Just softens it.
But it's just very soft, yeah. Okay. So I like to incorporate a chop that has, either it's my regular circle or something that fits with the tangle. And so this is the one I did. I converted my usual circle format to one of these little boxes. And then I was very, very happy, thinking, I put my chop on, I'm done, and I go up and I'm
show it to me,
showing it to Maria, and she says, "Oh, you didn't shade that one." It's like, oh, okay, back.
So back to the drawing board.
Back to the studio. So I came back down. It's like, okay, I had all this idea of shading because these two tangles have this wonderful, or the way they are together, have this nice over and under opportunity. So just went back and got my graphite. And then the graphite works really well with the
chalk pencil, yeah.
You can really make literal gradations of the chalk and just mix it and really play with that. We didn't include any white charcoal in this one, but if you have one from other project packs, you may decide that this just really wants some white charcoal, or put a highlight on there. I just did all the little ones.
So when you put the pencil down at first, it's almost jarring, and you think, oh, should I have done that? But then when you soften it out and hold it a little bit away from you, you can see what a cool thing it does to the overall composition.
So this side, I just put it in one place there to give that sense of over and under, and just really change the relationship of those fragments to each other. So this was fun. So thanks again for spending this time with us.
Looks great, Ricky.
And we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, bye.
Bye now.